The events discussed in this video occurred in 2007 in the state of Kansas, and although 16 years have passed since then, this prominent case has yet to reach a conclusion. On January 5, 2007, 19-year-old Jodi Sanderholm, who lived with her parents in Arkansas City, went to a dance rehearsal scheduled at her college that day. Jodi didn't return home and stopped answering her phone. This behavior was unusual for her, so her parents immediately grew concerned and decided to report her disappearance to the police. Jodi Leanne Sanderholm was born on September 26, 1987, in Arkansas City, the daughter of Brian and Cindy Sanderholm. She was their third child, having an older brother named Jason and an older sister named Jennifer. From a young age, Jodi enjoyed dancing, and although it played a significant role in her life, she also excelled in her studies. She was one of the top 4 students in her high school graduating class. Jodi was a member of the National Honor Society, a Kansas State Scholar, a Kansas Board of Regents Scholar, and received the Physics Student of the Year Award presented by David Steinamitzi. She was a 4-year member of the Ark City High School dance team, captaining it for 2 years. Jodi also instructed at Ark City Dance and the Universal Dance Association. After high school, she attended Cowley College, studying pre-pharmacy, and was a member of the Cowley Tigerette dance line. In 2007, the population of Arkansas City was around 12,000 inhabitants. Jodi's parents, like many other local residents, thought it was a good and relatively safe place to live and raise children. However, after Jodi's disappearance and the details of what happened to her became known, many began to realize that safety was merely an illusion and that the human being was the most dangerous beast. On the morning of January 5, 2007, Jodi drove her car, a Dodge Stratus, to the college for a dance rehearsal scheduled to end at 10:45 a.m. After the rehearsal, she planned to return home. Cindy called her daughter's cell phone several times, but she didn't answer, which was highly unusual. Jodi always kept in touch with the family, and even if she missed a call, she would promptly return it. Cindy had a bad feeling about this and decided to leave work and go home to check on Jodi. When she arrived, she immediately noticed that her daughter's car wasn't in front of the house, which further increased her anxiety, as Cindy knew that by that time, Jodi should have returned from the rehearsal. Upon entering the house and looking around, Cindy realized that Jodi hadn't returned. Her dance uniform, which she usually put in the washing machine when she returned from rehearsal, wasn't there or in the laundry basket. The shower stall was dry, although Jodi always took a shower after her dance class. It soon became clear that Jodi hadn't contacted her father or her older sister, Jennifer, who had a noon appointment, which she never attended. Cindy and Brian began calling Jodi's friends in the hope of finding out where she might be, but after the morning rehearsal and Jodi's departure from the college, none of her friends had seen her. That night, the college dance team was scheduled to perform at a basketball game with a choreography Jodi was the choreographer for. She wouldn't have voluntarily missed it, but she also didn't show up. Around 6 p.m., with no information and no expectation of her daughter returning home, Cindy and Brian contacted the police and reported the disappearance. The sheriff's office immediately created flyers with Jodi's description and began investigating her last known whereabouts, issuing a general alert about the vehicle she was traveling in. Through Cindy and Brian, the police discovered that Jodi had a boyfriend whom she had been dating since high school, named Colby Wilson. When contacted by phone, he reported that he had been at his brother's house in Texas for several days. The police quickly ruled him out as a potential suspect because his stay in another state was confirmed. The following day, January 6, was very eventful. Lori Leglighter, Jodi's best friend with whom she had been friends and danced since high school, provided crucial information to the police. Both attended Cowley College, where they studied dance. Lori reported that she left work at the Sirloin Stockade in Arkansas City around 10 p.m. on Tuesday, January 2nd, and noticed a light blue car pass by the restaurant multiple times as she left. On her way home, she noticed a car following her in the rearview mirror. "I thought something strange was going on," Lori told the detectives. She decided to check if the car behind her was really following her, so she started turning onto different streets. The driver of the car behind her was doing the same, which really scared Lori. She drove to the local police station and parked nearby, thinking the pursuer would leave her alone. She didn't see them after she stopped, so she drove back home again. However, she had to return to the parking lot near the police station because she saw the car following her again. Lori stayed in the car for a while before going home. She told the detectives that she didn't go to the police station because she thought it was a stupid prank from someone else, but it wasn't just that. On Friday, January 5th, the Tigerette dance team was rehearsing at the college. According to Lori, she and Jodi arrived around the same time and, as usual, parked close to each other. Lori spotted the light blue car again and, moreover, recognized the man behind the wheel. It was a local resident, 23-year-old Justin Thurber. Lori didn't know him personally, but she had seen him several times in the company of his older brother and their friends. Lori and Jodi left the rehearsal at the same time and planned to meet up later, but Jodi never showed up for the meeting. Soon, several dance team members revealed they had also seen Justin near the college during the previous week. He would always sit in his car in the parking lot and just observe. In the first 24 hours of Jodi's disappearance, the police drove throughout the city but couldn't locate her car. Arkansas City is surrounded by fields and wooded areas. They brought in a fixed-wing aircraft to search the area from the air. The car was harder to conceal than a person because of its size, so the police hoped they could spot Jodi's car from the air. It was determined that the last time her cell phone signal was received was from a cell tower located near the Kaw Wildlife Area. This is a vast wooded area along the Arkansas River. At this point in the investigation, only one person, Justin Eugene Thurber, identified by Lori Leglighter and other dance group members, was considered someone who could be involved in Jodi Sanderholm's disappearance. It is important to note that despite his young age, Thurber was well known to the police. 3 years earlier, in 2004, he had been charged with unlawful possession of controlled substances. Eventually, he received a suspended sentence and was released. 3 months later, he was arrested for theft in violation of probate nation. In October 2005, he was charged with disorderly conduct. 3 months later, he was arrested for petty theft and again found in possession of a controlled substance. On December 31, 2006, just 6 days before Jodi's disappearance, Thurber was arrested again for theft. On the same day, after posting a $3,000 bond, he was released, having had a merry New Year's Eve. The next day, January 1st, he began by impersonating a police officer and public disturbance. When the real police went after him, Thurber complained of chest pains and was taken to the hospital instead of the police station. Why he wasn't arrested after his hospital discharge remains unclear, as is how he managed to slip through all of this. At some point, a relative of his who works in the Cowley County Police may have contributed to this, but that's just a guess. On the same day, January 6th, an officer spotted Thurber's car, a light blue Cadillac, parked outside his parents' house and decided to talk to him. His father invited the officer inside. When the officer asked Justin where he had been the previous day, he said he drove his car to Winfield, a town about 13 miles from Arkansas City, in the morning. There, according to Justin, he met with his friend and 2 more acquaintances of his, whom he wasn't very close to. Then, the 4 of them started driving through the countryside in a car belonging to one of his friend's friends until the car got stuck on a dirt road near Cedarvale. Then, as Thurber claimed, he walked towards Arkansas City, which is about 30 miles from Cedarvale. After 6 hours, he got tired of walking and called his father to pick him up. Thurber's father confirmed what he said, stating that he picked him up wet and dirty a few miles from the Cali State Fishing Lake. Justin also told the officer that his car, which he left in Winfield, was returned by friends. The story wasn't very convincing, But there was nothing to charge Thurber with at that moment, so the officer left. That same evening, the officers talked to Alexis Schwartzel, who had recently ended a 3-year relationship with Thurber. She told the officers that Thurber often took her to the Cole Wildlife Area, southeast of Arkansas City, and pointed out the places they used to visit. When the police informed Alexis that they were investigating Jodi Sanderholm's disappearance, she was very surprised and said that Justin once said he started watching Jodi when he was 13 years old. He would spy on her while she swam in her backyard pool and sometimes at night peeked through her bedroom window, waiting for her to start changing clothes. The police asked Alexis about the reasons for breaking up with Thurber, and she said she ended it because he was very abusive and had strange tendencies that were becoming more frequent. On several occasions, she said that during intimacy, he would strangle her until she passed out. Furthermore, he instigated fights with her because he couldn't get aroused otherwise. It was becoming increasingly apparent to the police that Justin Thurber could be involved in Jodi's disappearance. The police didn't have evidence to connect him to the girl's disappearance, but late on the night of January 6, Thurber was arrested anyway. Detective Eric Mata arrested Thurber for bail revocation and suspicion of criminal trespassing because the investigation into Jodi Sanderholm's disappearance revealed that Thurber was on the college campus where the detective believed Thurber shouldn't have been. Thurber told Mata that he wanted to speak to his lawyer at the same time the officers arrived at Justin's parents' house with a search warrant. The officers took the shoes that Justin was wearing the day before when his father picked him up. The shoes were wet and were drying on a towel. Thurber's father told the police that he helped his son clean the mud off the shoes. The clothes Justin was wearing when his father picked him up were also retrieved, but in the meantime, he had time to wash them. The following day, January 7, specialized search teams that identified human activities in rugged terrains began working at the Cole Wildlife Area. They found shoe prints that matched those of Justin Thurber, as well as several other smaller footprints. When night fell, they decided to continue the search the next day. On the way back home, some of the searchers passed by Cowley County Fishing Lake and decided to stop because they heard Thurber was wet when his father picked him up. They discovered a muddy tire mark, muddy shoe prints near a public restroom, one addressed to Jodi Sanderholm's parents in a porta-potty, dance shoes in another restroom, and a sandal. Investigators later recovered cut shorts, a wallet containing Jodi Sanderholm's driver's license and social security card, her black leotard, a tigerette jacket with Jodi Sanderholm's name on the front, a car mat, and a car seat. The sandal matched the impressions found in the Cole Wildlife Area. The searchers spent the next 2 days around Cowley County Fishing Lake and the Charcoal Wildlife Area. On January 9, sonar experts were brought in to scan the bottom of the lake and discovered Jodi's submerged car. On the same day, the hope of the Sanderholm family died too. Jodi's naked body was found under a pile of leaves, logs, and branches in the Cole Wildlife Area. Authorities found DNA evidence linking Justin Thurber to both the car and Jodi's body. Barbara Leal, an employee of a private DNA testing company, tested samples taken from Jodi Sanderholm's right bicep and right chest side. She concluded that Thurber could not be excluded as a participant, although 99% of the population could be excluded. Cell tower data showed that on the day Jodi disappeared, her phone and Justin Thurber's phone were in the same areas at the same time. Jodi's best friend, Lori Legliner, said she saw Thurber in the college parking lot on the day she disappeared. When the police examined the camera footage provided by the college administration, they were convinced Lori was telling the truth. Thurber was in the college parking lot at the same time the rehearsal was happening, and he left that parking lot at the same time as Jodi. The video showed Thurber following Jodi in his light blue Cadillac. Based on the fact that letters addressed to Jodi's parents were found near the lake, investigators speculated that Thurber followed Jodi from college to her home, and when she went out to get the letters from the mailbox, he attacked her, pushed her into her own car, and drove her away. This theory was confirmed when an identical footprint to the sole of Justin Thurber's sneakers was found next to the Sanderholm family mailbox. As previously mentioned, Thurber's shoe prints and smaller shoe imprints were found in the Kaw wildlife area. It was determined these were Jodi's shoe imprints found at the fishing lake along with her other belongings. Thurber's and Jodi's footprints in the reserve were found side by side. At one point, searchers saw that Jodi's footprints were interrupted, and Justin's footprints went deeply into the woods. This meant he was carrying the girl further alone. His shoe imprints were also found where the body was found. All three of the people Thurber claimed were with him on the day Jodi disappeared denied what he said. They didn't see Thurber that day, meaning his story about the car being stuck near Cedar Vale was a fabrication. The three officers took Thurber to Cedar Vale for him to show where he said the car was stuck. Thurber couldn't determine where he said the car was stuck. Back at the station, Thurber volunteered to take a polygraph test and also requested that his relative Chad Monroe, who worked in the Cowley County Sheriff's Department, be present during the interrogation. The evidence found was sufficient to charge Justin Thurber. He himself denied guilt, and the judge set his bail at $1 million. Thurber's lawyers tried to convince the court he was mentally incompetent, but they failed. Thurber had graduated from high school and even attended college for some time, so the judge deemed the defense's claim of his mental retardation unproven. The medical examiner who performed the autopsy testified at the trial. He said that upon first looking at the body, he had no doubt that Jodi's last hours were very painful. Her entire body and face were covered in bruises and abrasions. There were clear signs of strangulation on her neck. Strangulation was named as the cause of Jodi Sanderholm's death. I cannot disclose all the information about what the medical examiner found during the autopsy. Not all maniacs from horror movies are as brutal as Thurber was with Jodi. Without going into details and, at the same time, to give an idea of what happened in the Kaw wildlife area, I will say the following: the crime was motivated by carnal desire, and Thurber committed the crime with a piece of wood. At the trial, besides Thurber's ex-girlfriend, 6 other women testified, each claiming the defendant stalked them. In one case, one of them was his co-worker. She had to call the police to escort her to her car after work. It was already dark, and she was afraid to go to the parking lot because she saw Justin waiting. Previously, he had left a rose and a note under her windshield wiper saying he liked her and wanted to get to know her better. Several witnesses said they saw Jodi Sanderholm's car on January 5, 2007. Carrie Morris, a friend of Jodi's, noticed Jodi was sitting in the passenger seat when their cars crossed paths in Arkansas City just after noon. Morris reported that the man driving Jodi's car seemed to be a big man. She called Jodi's cell phone but received no answer. 2 other women reported seeing a vehicle similar to Jodi Sanderholm's car while driving on a dirt road south of Arkansas City, around 3 p.m. One of them said the driver was Thurber and identified him in court. On February 17, 2009, the jury reached a unanimous verdict, finding Thurber guilty on all counts and recommending he be sentenced to death. Upon realizing what sentence the judge would give, Thurber tried to negotiate a deal. His lawyer told the prosecutor that Justin would plead guilty if not sentenced to capital punishment. Jodi's family opposed such an agreement. The presiding judge took into account the jury's decision and sentenced Thurber to death by lethal injection in March 2009. In 2008, the state of Kansas signed the Jodiac Law, which, among other things, expands police authority over stalking suspects and expands the list of actions that can be considered stalking. Since the sentence, Justin Thurber has not given up his attempts to appeal the court's decision. His lawyers are trying to prove that Thurber is mentally incompetent. In 2018, the Kansas Supreme Court postponed Thurber's death sentence, citing a decision from the United States Supreme Court that deems the execution of defendants, even those with mild developmental disabilities, unconstitutional. The Sanderholm family stated that a competency trial was held during the original trial, and Thurber was considered fully competent at the time. Jodi's mother, Cindy Sanderholm,
was in the courtroom 11 years after her daughter's passing.
She said Thurber wrote letters to other girls while in prison, and this should show that he was competent.
That's sick. It's just sick, said Cindy. That shows he's competent enough to contact people and write letters. He knows what he's doing.
I'm sure Jodi begged for her life, and he didn't give it to her. She didn't have a second choice, didn't have a second chance, she added. In August 2021, the Kansas Supreme Court issued an opinion announcing that a state law passed in 2020 allows Thurber, who is appealing a death sentence, to seek appointment by the Cowley County District Court of an attorney to assist in post-conviction DNA testing. Therefore, even 16 years after Jodi Sanderholm's passing, the final word in this case has yet to be pronounced.
It should also be noted that no one has been executed since Kansas reinstated the death penalty in 1994. The last execution in Kansas was in 1965.
Since then, in addition to Thurber, 9 other people have been sentenced to death, but no sentence has been carried out. We haven't executed anyone in that period, and there's no schedule for future executions, said Adam Pfannenstiel, communications spokesperson for the Kansas Department of Corrections.
I find it a little shocking that Kansas reinstated the death penalty over 20 years ago and still doesn't have a plan, said Jennifer Aldridge, Jodi's older sister. I thought this would have been discussed 20 years ago when it was reinstated.
Therefore, even if Thurber's death sentence is upheld, there's a good chance it will never be carried out. Justin Thurber, 39, remains at the El Dorado Maximum Security Penitentiary in Butler County, Kansas. According to a report from the Kansas Legislative Audit Committee published in 2014, each inmate's serving time in administrative segregation in El Dorado costs nearly $49,000 annually. Additionally, it's not just the cost of housing a death row inmate. Taxpayers also pay nearly 4 times the price to prosecute a case where the death penalty is sought by the prosecution, $395,000 per case, compared to just $100,000 per case when the death penalty isn't sought.
For the Sanderholms, taxes are an insult to an unbearable wound and an agonizing wait for justice in their daughter Jodi's case.
It hurts me so much every week when I see my paycheck and know I'm paying taxes to feed him, said Brian Sanderholm. Death is what he deserves, and that's what the law has established, said Cindy Sanderholm. So, we need to fix the law so we can use it. If it was your daughter, your son, it was our daughter, what would you want to happen?
Brian Sanderholm asked. Unfortunately, Cynthia Ann Sanderholm, Jodi's mother, passed away on December 2, 2022, at the age of 63.